Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Pharmacypedia. In continuation of the pre-formulation series, in this video we are going to discuss about the pre-formulation part 4, which will cover the topics partition coefficient, ionization constant and solubility profile. So, like we were discussing about the pre-formulation studies. Pre-formulation studies are the prerequisite studies which are being conducted to understand the physicochemical properties of the drug substance. It also gives us an idea about the kinetics of the drugs. We can also study about the compatibilities and drug interaction studies in the pre-formulation studies, and also it is going to understand the stability studies. So now you are fully aware about what is the purpose of doing the pre-formulation studies. So let us start. If you are coming to my channel for the first time, please do like and subscribe to my channel Pharmacypedia for getting further updates and notification about the upcoming lectures. So in this part 4, we are going to discuss about the three important topics, that is about the solubility profile, dissociation constant, pH and partition coefficient. In our earlier sessions, I have discussed about, in the part 1 we discussed about the pre-formulation general introduction and concept. In the part 2 of the pre-formulation we discussed about the physicochemical property, that is about the physical property, that is amorphous and crystal nature. In part 3 of the pre-formulation series we discussed about the solubility, particle size, shape and flow properties. In this part, that is the part 4, we are going to discuss about solubility profile, partition coefficient and dissociation or ionization constant pKa. In my subsequent session we will be studying about the part 5, that will focus on the polymorphism. So please do subscribe to my channel for getting further updates and learning the new skills. One of the critical parameter for any drug substance analysis is the solubility analysis. Why it is being important? Because we should be fully aware what is the nature of the drug substance. If it is soluble, if it is hydrophilic in nature, or if it is lipophilic in nature. Hydrophilic means water loving, or lipophilic means lipid loving. So the solubility of any drug substance is very important physicochemical properties, because it affects the bioavailability of the drugs. What do we understand by the bioavailability of the drugs? That it actually reaches to the systemic circulation. Bioavailability actually means the rate and extent of any drug which is being actually absorbed in the body. Bioavailability gives us an idea about how much of the drug is being absorbed, how much it goes into the systemic circulation. So solubility is a prerequisite criteria for any drug substance to know how much will be the bioavailability, the rate of the drug release into the dissolution medium, and consequently the therapeutic efficiency of any pharmaceutical product. Moreover, the solubility of the molecules in various solvents is determined as a first step. So when we talk about the different solvent system, we refer here to water, chloroform or ethyl alcohol, and the solubility studies is being carried out in various different kinds of the solvent to understand how much extent it goes into the solution. The more soluble it is, the more will be the bioavailability. If we have the poor solubility characteristics for any drug, it becomes a challenge for getting the good bioavailability during the formulation development. So it is being said to be one of the important property. Now the drug substance under analysis may have a good solubility, may have poor solubility, may have insoluble characteristics. So it depends. Therefore, the pharmacopoeia has actually prescribed and we can know to what extent actually the solute, which refers to the drug substance, goes into the solvent system. So this information is actually very valuable in developing a formulation. Solubility is generally determined in variety of commonly used solvents, even in the oils if the molecules are lipophilic. So the solubilities of the material is usually determined by the equilibrium solubility method, which employs a saturated solution of the material obtained by stirring an excess of the material in the solvent. So we can understand it is a very simple mechanism to understand the solubility. We are taking n number of the solvents. We are actually trying to solubilize the drug substance which we have with us in each of the solvents, and then try to understand if it is soluble in water or not, if it is soluble in other types of the solvent system or not. This information is very important when we will be further discussing about the formulation development. It is pertinent to mention over here is that any drug which is having good solubility, the ease of formulation would be easy for that. The real challenge lies when the solubility of the drug substance is not good. So let us try to understand how do we categorize the drugs, whether it is having good solubility and other characteristics nature. So as per the pharmacopoeia, it has been described that we say that any drug substance is very soluble or freely soluble. These are the terms which are being generally used and being referred in any of the pharmacopoeia. You must have seen in the description part. So it is actually based on the analysis that how much parts of the solvent is required for one part of the solute. It is very simple. One part of the solute needs to be dissolved. One part of the solute goes into how much amount of the solvent. So any drug which is having when we say that any drug is having very highly solubility, it simply means that it requires less than 1 gram, one part of the solute to dissolve the one part of the solute, one part of the solvent which is being required to produce the one part of the solute. So very soluble substance needs only less than one part of the solvent. When we say freely soluble, it simply means that the parts of the solvent which is required for one part of the solute, it ranges from 1 to 10. Similarly, the values increases. So the larger the amount of solvent required to get the one part of that solute dissolved, means the solubility decreases down. So when you need the larger amount of the volume of the solvent to dissolve the little 1 gram of the solute, it simply means that the solubility is actually decreasing. So when it is being said that the parts of the solvent required for one part of the solute is actually greater than 10,000, it simply means that the drug is highly insoluble. So these are the terms which are being associated in the pharmacopoeia, and you must have seen in the description part of the pharmacopoeia that these terms are generally being used like very soluble, freely soluble, soluble, sparingly soluble, slightly soluble, very slightly soluble. These questions are generally asked in GPAT examination also. So one must be having idea that what is the range. Please try to keep memorizing these ranges. So now let us discuss our first topic, that is about the dissociation constant. The dissociation constant is represented by pKa. It is also known as the ionization constant. So let us try to understand it in a way that most of the drug substances can be either weakly acidic in nature or weakly basic in nature, and their solubility actually varies in different types of the solvents. So now we are clear about the solubility parts. So once a drug substance is being there, whether it is weakly acidic or weakly basis, it actually ionizes out in different solvents. So once any drug substance having weakly acidic nature or weakly basic natures, once they are into any solvent system, they ionizes. Now we need to understand what is the extent of the ionization. So this ionization is actually represented by the dissociation constant, also known as pKa, also known as the ionization constant. So in simple words, you can say that the drug undergoes dissociation in their aqueous solutions. Now the extent of the ionization actually depends on n number of the factors. Now what are these factors? What is the pH at the site of the absorption? The ionization actually varies with the variation in the pH. It is being generally observed that most of the drugs are either weakly acidic or weakly basic. If we talk specifically, most of the drug substances are actually weakly basic in nature. So it is being understood that the basic drugs will be absorbed better in the intestines because they are having the pH 5 to 7, and weakly acidic drugs will be absorbed better in the stomach region because the pH is slightly acidic over there. So the pH at the site of absorption is very much important to know and understand where our drug will be basically absorbed. So this is the main purpose of doing the pre-formulation study, that you can understand what is the solubility, what is the pKa. pKa will actually tell you what would be the site of the absorption. Moreover, we have to understand whether the drug is actually hydrophilic in nature or lipophilic in nature. So, for example, if we take a weak acid, it will ionize mostly in the alkaline pH, while a weakly basic will ionize in an acidic medium. Now, it is very important to note over here is that once ionization is done, the unionized part is more lipid soluble and is readily absorbed. Hence, gastrointestinal absorption of a drug can be improved if the extent of ionization is being reduced. So, what is the part of the drug which is being absorbed? That is the unionized part. Now, it is very clear. Dissociation constant tell you in what solvent system what would be the extent of the ionization. Now, the ionized drug will not be absorbed to that extent. Only the unionized part is absorbed. So, the purpose of development during the formulation development, you have to understand what will be the absorption site. Now, this absorption site depends on the chemical nature of the drug substance. So, it is very important to know whether our drug is acidic in nature, basic in nature, or like strongly acidic, strongly basic, and we need to understand and determine the pKa of the drug substance, which will tell you a lot of information what would the site of absorption, and you can actually design and do the formulation accordingly. So at a particular pH, the relative concentration of the unionized and the ionized species in a drug solution can be estimated with the help of Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. Now this is the equation which is generally being used to calculate out the pKa of the drug substance. So for acidic drugs, pH is equal to pKa plus log of unionized drug by the unionized drug, and for the basic drugs it actually includes unionized by the ionized drug. So this equation is being widely used for the determination of pKa. So the contents of the stomach have pH ranging from 1 to 3. So when we talk about the weakly acidic drugs which have a pKa value less than 4.3, will be absorbed faster than those having pKa value within 2.4 to 2 to 4.3. So why it is being so? That the weakly acidic drugs will be better absorbed in the stomach if they have the pKa value less than 4.3. Similarly, strongly acidic drugs will not be absorbed. Why it will not be absorbed? Because most of them will be ionized at this speed, and only unionized parts is actually absorbed. Now, similarly, the pH of the intestinal fluid varies from 5 to 8. So, in case of the basic drugs, the absorption is faster for those having pKa value less than 8.5 than those having pKa values between 9 to 12. So, the strongly basic drugs will not be absorbed. The weakly basic drug will be absorbed. So thus, for the prediction of the site of absorption of weakly acidic or basic drugs, knowledge of pKa is very important. So this is why there is much more requirement to understand and to know and calculate the dissociation constant for any weakly acidic or basic drug to understand what would be the site of absorption. So in this chart, you can clearly see very weak acids drugs like pentobarbital having the pKa value greater than 8 will be unionized at all the pH values. So as I have told earlier, the unionized part is absorbed, so it can be absorbed throughout any region of the gastrointestinal tract. So the drugs having weakly acid drugs having pKa value greater than 8 will be unionized at all the pH, and it will be better absorbed throughout the GI tract. Moderately weak acid drugs like which ranging from 2.5 to 7.5 will be unionized in the gastric pH and ionized at the intestinal pH. So mostly absorbed from the stomach. So moderately weak acids will be, so these questions are generally being asked like moderately weak acidic drugs which having the pKa value in the range of 2.5 to 7.5 will be absorbed from the stomach. Stronger acids like where the value is actually less than 2. So it will be ionized at all the pH values, and so it won't be absorbed from the GI tract. Similarly is the case for strong basic. Strong bases like where the value of pKa is more than 11, it will be ionized at all the pH values, and therefore it will be poorly absorbed from the GI tract. So it is very important to understand that as the value increases, pKa value increases, the ionization actually impacts, which actually impacts its absorption. So the pKa of the drug, dissociation or ionization constant, is the pH at which half of the substance is ionized and half is unionized. It is the exact point where you can say the half of the drug substance is ionized and half is in the unionized. So when somebody asks you what would be the pH of the medium, so after ionization of the drug, weak acids will be best absorbed in the stomach and weak bases will be best absorbed in the intestine. So it is very easy to understand. Weak acids will be absorbed from the stomach and weak bases will be absorbed from the intestine. So now what is the use of calculating the pKa and using the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation? So the equation actually tells you about the ionization, content of the ionization part and unionized part. It also actually helps you out to calculate out the pKa. That is the first basic use, and apart from that it is also helped in us in predicting the solubility at any pH, provided that the intrinsic solubility and pKa are known, and it also facilitates the selection of suitable salt forming compounds. It also helps in predicting the solubility and pH properties of the salt. Now what are the methods to determine pK? Let us try to understand these methods. The methods which are used to determine the pKa are, it can either be determined by the potentiometric method, conductivity methods, dissolution rate method, spectrophotometric method, and liquid-liquid partition method. So now let us just try to analyze how can we increase the solubility of any drug. You have understood the pKa part. You have understood what are the different criteria for the solubility. How do we categorize any drug on the basis of the pharmacopoeia standards. So if any drug is having the poor solubility, what are the general approaches being used? So there are many approaches that can be used. We are going to discuss few of them in this slide. The first is by changing the pH of the solution. So if you change the pH of the solution, what will happen is that the ionization will vary. So the ratio of ionization and unionized part will be impacted, and you know very well now that unionized part is absorbed by the body. So you can actually alter the bioavailability. Then second is by changing the solvent. Different solvents have different solubilities of the drug substance. Some drug substances are soluble in ethanol, methanol. Some are highly water soluble. So if we change the solvent system, the solubility will vary, which will actually affect the bioavailability. So if we have a solvent in which our drug is having good solubility, so then in that case we will be able to achieve the better bioavailability. Then third is by changing the polymorphs. Now different polymorphs have different solubility, like we discussed. Compare hydrates are widely hydrates have the solubility less than anhydrous form, and anhydrous form has less solubility as compared to the different solvents. Also by the addition of various surfactants. Now these surfactants actually affects the surface tension, and therefore they are actually helping out in the solubilization part. You must have seen in the soap, while you must have studied the soap part, sodium lauryl sulfate is widely used as a surfactant to enhance the soap effect. Also by some other mechanisms like complexation, like EDTA, ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. So these are the substances which are being used, whereby if you complex them with these agents, that will actually improve out the solubility parts. So let us try to remember few examples, like classic examples, like caffeine increases the solubility of benzoic acid by forming a water soluble complex. Also is the example of solubility of para-amino benzoic acid can be increased by complexing it with the caffeine. So like caffeine or ethylene diamine tetraacetic acids are being used to increase the solubility. Now let us try to understand the approaches which are used for decreasing the solubility of any drug substance. That can be done by esterification methods. The solubility of chloramphenicol can be decreased by forming its ester with the palmitic acid or by coating it with the polymers. Nowadays, polymer science is altogether a different perspective. Polymers are widely used in the formulation development. So drug particles can be coated either with the ethyl cellulose, which actually retards water solubility. Cellulose acetate phthalates, hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose phthalate. These are the polymers which reduce the solubility of drug particles in the acid medium of the stomach. So they are widely used for the colon drug delivery, whereby they actually want the site of action to be in the colon, or by changing the polymorph. Like we have discussed, different polymorphs have different solubility. Anhydrous forms, amorphous forms have better solubility as compared to the crystalline forms. Stable polymorphs have lower aqueous solubility than the metastable form. So any unstable form will try to come to the stable form, or by selecting the hydrated forms. Hydrated forms like anhydrous ampicillin has greater water solubility than ampicillin trihydrates, because trihydrate is already having the water molecule in it, so it will not absorb water to that extent. So anhydrous forms are having the better solubility. For details, you can check my earlier video on the part 2, which refers to about the crystalline and the amorphous nature of the pre-formulation. Let us try to understand the importance of solubility. Now, solubility is one of the most challenging criteria in the pre-formulation properties that have a significant impact on the performance of any molecule. So, while we go and plan for the and design for the formulation development, we need to have specific data about the physical properties like pK of the drug substance. We should be aware about the pH. We should be aware about whether it is weakly acidic in nature, weakly basic in nature, what is the solubility, whether it is highly soluble, freely soluble in different solvent system. So these are the basic requirements which we should know, so that the formulation development can take place in that way, and you can design a dosage form having the improved bioavailability. Now you have learned the methods also, whereby you can increase the solubility of drug substance or decrease the solubility of the drug substance as per your requirement. Now the solubility is directly related to the oral absorption, because if you have a good solubility, you have a better bioavailability and the dissolution results would be better. So solubility data is actually required for the formulation development. Now, when we talk about the ionization constant for the pK determination, we have to use the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. This we have discussed in our earlier slides as well. Next, we move to the pH solubility profiling. The solubility of acetic or basic drug will show difference in solubility with the changes in pH. See, similarly, the pH solubility profile of a drug can be established by running the equilibrium solubility experiment within the pH range of 3 to 4. So now the ionization, when we talk about the ionization constant pKa, 75% of the drugs are weak bases, whereas 20% of them are the weak acids and 5% are non-ionic or amphoteric in nature. Now let us try to understand another important property, that is the partition coefficient. When we say the partition coefficient, it is actually a measurement of a drug's lipophilicity. Lipophilicity means lipid loving nature. So when we talk about the hydrophilic, there are two types of the drug substances, hydrophilic and lipophilic. Lipophilic have better drug because they are able to penetrate inside the body system. You need to have lipophilicity to facilitate the entry of the molecule inside the body system, so it can permeate better, and it is also an indication of its ability to cross the cell membranes. Therefore, it is very well important to understand the partitioning of the drugs in two types of the solvent system are being used to analyze the and calculate the partition coefficient. First is the octanol water, and second is the chloroform water system. So generally, octanol water system is being used. So you have the two solvent system. One is the octanol, second is the water. You are actually trying to calculate out the presence of your molecules in the how much extent of the molecule goes into the octanol and how much molecule goes into the water system. So water is the hydrophilic in nature, octanol is lipophilic in nature. So it is the ratio of unionized form is only observed, that we have known from pK studies. So it is actually the ratio of unionized drug which is distributed between organic and aqueous phase at equilibrium. Now this equilibrium is very important. So it is the ratio of unionized drug distributed between organic and aqueous phase at equilibrium. So when we say equilibrium, so it is the concentration of the drug in the oil or in the water at the equilibrium. Now, what are for the drug delivery, the lipophilic and hydrophilic balance has been shown to be the contributing factor for the rate and extent of drug absorption. So again, this factor plays a very important role, because you need to have a, in any drug substance, if there is an adequate balance between the lipophilic part and the hydrophilic part, that drug would be better absorbed. The rate as well as the extent would be more, you have a better bioavailability. Now think of a situation where a drug is having higher hydrophilicity but poor lipophilicity nature. In that case, it will not be able to penetrate the cell biological membrane, because lipophilicity is required for better penetration. So it provides a means of characterizing the lipophilic and the hydrophilic nature of the drug substance. Now, let us try to understand the methods which are being used to determine the partition coefficient. Basically, three methods are being used. First, the shake flask method. Like you must have seen in the earlier slide as well. Shake flask method is that you have a flask, in that you have two layers. One is the octanol layer, another one is the water layer, and you shake it for a particular period of the time, and you try to understand and calculate what is the amount of the drug solute being present in the organic phase and another in the water phase. How much extent of the solute actually dissolves into the octanol layer and another one in the water layer, and then you calculate out the partition coefficient. Then second, advanced methods are being used these days, like chromatographic method, HPTLC, TLC, etc. Then counter current method and filter probe methods are also being used for the calculation of partition coefficient. So what is the application of calculating the partition coefficient? So partition coefficient is actually the measurement of the lipophilic character of the drug, and for any drug to have the good absorption and able to permeate the biological membranes, it should have a good lipophilicity. So if any drug is having a good partition coefficient, that means it will be better absorbed. So it is this type of the parameter analysis is required for the ADME studies of the, that is absorption, distribution, metabolism and elimination. And also the partition coefficient is required for the extraction of dosage form from the biological fluids. So dear learners, now you have a brief insight into what is the dissociation constant, what are the solubilities, different types of the solubility analysis. You have now deep insight about the partition coefficient. You can understand the ultimate aim is to have a drug development, to have the designing of the dosage form which is having the good bioavailability and good absorption of the drug inside the body system. So for having that, you must understand the physical and chemical properties of the drug substance, whether it is weakly acidic in nature, weakly basic in nature, and to what site it is being absorbed. If it is having the poor solubility, then how can we enhance the solubility? If it is having, it should have the adequate hydrophilic lipophilic balance, which can be known from the partition coefficient. So these are the basic data, basic information which is being desired, because solubility is one of the most important criteria for any dosage form development. So my friends, I hope this video will really help you. In case you feel any doubt or like problem in understanding any topic or anything, or you want to share something, please use the comment box. Also, please subscribe to my channel Pharmacypedia for getting further updates. Thank you so much.